Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I'm on the case. See you in a minute. So let's have a look at today's impulse purchase. I went up to our little local antique sort of emporium up in Droitwich the other day and found 4 of these cases. At the moment I've only bought one because I'm not sure of the sizes of the inside and how it will work, but I'm looking to think about using them for stock boxes for my model railway stuff. It says Pentax on it. There's a couple of other ones that are slightly different that they've got there, and I believe they are or were for endoscopy things, I think, by the look of the other cases that have got it written on them. But I think they'll make an ideal box for putting, well, locomotives and or stock in, but as I say, until I know how that will work in terms of how big they are inside when I've taken all the guts out of them, we will see. First thing I think is to get them cleaned up, I think, because they're a bit dusty and dirty and I don't know where they've been. I've got a pretty good idea if it's an endoscopy, but let's just get the cases tidied up, get all the dust off, see what they look like, but I think they'll come up nicely. And it's just useful for some of these things like wagons and things. At the moment they're all in individual boxes. If you've got to go and get 7 or 8 wagons and take them out of individual boxes, it takes an awful lot of time when you could have them in a one case like this. What I'd like to do long term, and this might be the spur to make me start and think about it, is have some sort of a system that is common to all of the stock, that will mean you've got it almost in a cassette, that you can just pick it up, lay it on the track and roll the stuff out, because then you've got far less handling and much less chance of getting things broken when you're taking them apart. As I say, we'll just get this stripped down first, get the case clean. It looks quite a nice set of ironmongery on it. Okay, let's have a look inside. Now, at the moment I'm going to leave the top case foam, because until I know where I'm going, it may be that I just need it to give a little bit of squash in order to keep things under control. I don't know yet, I can measure that, but the first thing to do is to get this other stuff out and see what we're dealing with. And it looks like it's just been done down with, yeah, with double-sided tape. We don't need that at all, so we can take that out. Lose that and then get rid of the stuff inside that's left. It's quite nice, it's like a plywood case rather than, sometimes they're just like a cardboard, but this is timber, so I think it's going to form a good basis. There's a couple of things that stopped me buying the whole thing, and they're really to do with the size. It's not quite ideal. For things like locomotives, I need something that's 90mm high, plus whatever I'm using to support them underneath and pack on top. So you can probably work on about 100mm for a locomotive in height. Now the problem comes in that certainly we haven't got 100mm height with the lid, because it's 50mm there, and I think that's about 35, so I've only got about 85 high. And if I put them on the side, it's 270, which is 90mm at minimum, at maximum I mean, and I need really 100 I think, so I'd only get 2 locomotives lengthways on their side I think in here. But I've got a lot of small industrial engines which are smaller in height, and I think on that basis, given their length as well, I could probably get 3 across and 3 down, so I could get 9 smaller locos in there. And it's the same with wagons. I won't get coaches in, and again they're wrong for coaches. A coach is about 450 to 500 long, so it's a bit too long for a coach. I can't sit a coach upright again because it needs this 90mm. So effectively something like this would hold 2 coaches, and again that's not going to work, but it may well work for open wagons. So really now I've got to where I am, 270 as I say by 635 by 50 plus, well, I could work on 80mm and that will compress down to. It'll give me a chance now to go away and have a think about exactly what I need to do and whether or not it's worth getting the other 3 cases, or whether I'm wasting the time with it, if you see what I mean. Certainly it'll do, this will do for the engines, for the locomotives, the little industrial ones, but it's whether or not I need to get any more of them, so that I can whip back up there and get another 1, 2 or 3 depending on what I need. But we'll just get this totally cleaned up inside and we'll go away and have a think about it. So here's the problem with the wagons. At the moment they're in boxes which inconveniently haven't even got a little thumb hole to get the bottom half out, so you have to waggle it about a bit. There's quite a lot of suction on it. It takes quite a bit of fiddling around to get a wagon out, and because of the foam that's surrounding them, they are a little bit vulnerable to damage while you're pulling them in and out. And so there you go. But to do that for a whole rake of wagons takes quite a long time, and the storage for a wagon that big is a box that big. So that's what I'm trying to do away with, and what I think will be useful is to have this as something to store the wagons in, basically on the sides on foam. I think realistically 3 deep. I could probably get 4 deep with these wagons because they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plank, but you can get 7 and 7 plank and bigger. So I'm going to make it adaptable enough. You can imagine that a dozen boxes, 1, 2, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's double the storage to get cases, boxes like this, and it's such a fiddle to get at them. And as I said before, I'd like to get some sort of a cassette system that I can just lift them out and almost, if possible, just roll them onto the track, and then that way they can, at least in groups of 4, they can be all coupled up together. So I think that's the the idea. I've got quite a lot of 4mm ply. This is a bit bent because it's been in the garage for a long while, but I've certainly got something that I can divide up the case inside and probably make the cassettes for. And as I say, even with some padding underneath it, there's plenty of opportunity there to just do that, and it's not going to go anywhere, even with that top case foam onto the side. with a thin layer on the bottom, they're not going to move around. So that's the task, I think. We'll see what we can do by way of coming up with a suitable cassette system. Now I've been playing with a piece of track to try and develop some sort of a cassette system, and I think I've got the rough sort of shape of what I want. One of the problems I've got is that to have something that sits over the rails properly, it's got to be quite thin because of the chairs on the track. If you put something even as thin as that, which is 3mm, it'll stick above the track because these chairs are in the way on the top and bottom. But I've just shaved the bottom corner off with a little hand plane and got to a point where I've got two pieces that I've just glued to a piece of 4mm ply underneath in the right place, and they now sit on the track and locate properly in the right sort of position. So that gives me the idea of where the cassette would sit, and then you'd load your stock on and off from there. I've also put a raised portion in the middle of that bit of wood on the other side to stop the wagon going from side to side. That's restraining the inside of the wheels. And with just at the moment I've just chiselled it out roughly. We'll do a proper job with a router and a sort of effectively a sled that's sloping. But at the moment, on that basis, I can load stuff on and off all day long off that without any problem into that cassette. And then for the cassette itself, the original idea was that I'd put two low sides on it that would be fixed like that, probably a bit lower than that, and then you'd have sides that would hinge up with foam rubber that will hold the wagon in place. Now, just testing this out in here, what actually happens is that I can put that on its side in there at the moment, and this case foam will actually bear down on the wagon itself and it won't move. So, and then if you lift it back up, it will go back onto the track. So it doesn't need that much restraint. I'm just playing with the idea of something, rather than something coming up either side to squeeze it in, just something that will either hinge over or will fit. Even two bits of foam rubber put in to that cassette will provide enough anchorage to hold the wagon. That's not really what I want to use because, as I say, it will be more fiddle, but maybe just a lid that folds over with a soft pair of bits of rubber like that to hold it should be enough. So I think I'm on the right lines to start. Bear in mind this thing's got to be 2 foot long, but I've got my materials, I've got some plywood, I've got at the moment some beechwood cut to about 10mm, but I can use pretty much anything in the hardwood line. In fact it's about 8mm. I could go thinner than that, and I've got plenty of room to do that. So I think we're getting somewhere with the concept. So I shall just carry on as before with anything I do, just live with it for a bit. I did think I was going to need fold down ends with a ramp on that I would probably do in resin to give me that ramp on and off, but in fact if I did a decent route on that at a like a scarf joint, if you see what I mean, like a 12 to 1 or something angled down, I think that's probably going to be perfectly adequate to load and unload into the cassettes. So I'll carry on with this for a bit longer, and then hopefully we'll have got the design development phase sorted, if you like, and then we can move on to actually doing some sort of a production run. I'll probably put 2 intermediate strips like that to just give you that separation, but that will be all that's needed really, and a little bit of padding here and there with some foam rubber. But I'm pretty satisfied that that will do the job. Now, what I've also just realised, thinking about it and playing with it a bit, is that originally I thought, well, I've bought one of these and I might buy a second one for my industrial locos, because the vans and the like won't fit in 3 rows in one of these. But I've got about a provision for about 15 of these open wagons in this one case. But if I were to buy the remaining 3 cases, use one for the industrial engines, I would have 3 cases like this, that I could put 1 layer of the small cassette in the bottom, and I'd still have my 15 open wagons. But it then opens up the possibility, because it leaves me about 200mm rather than 180, that I could run 2 lots of vans in there as well, which are the taller full loading gauge. So I think that may be the way to go. I can develop this now so that I can put the 15 open wagons in the bottom of each of 3 boxes, and then that gives me room for another 30 wagons, vans and all sorts of other things in cassettes in the other cases as well. So I think I will now, having had the weekend to play with it, on the hope that they will still have them there when I go back, call in on Monday and buy the other 3 boxes, and we will take it from there next time. Okay, so I think I've done the research and development that I need to do. Next time I'll be getting into the thick of actually making some cassettes, getting them all finished, and hopefully making sure that it all works properly. So I hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next time in the shed when we'll be doing something different. I'll see you then. Bye!